The world had fallen long before he awakened. Once the land was filled with human voices. Machines, roads, cities, smoke, laughter. But all of that had collapsed beneath the weight of a plague that devoured humanity, turning men, women, and children into shambling corpses driven only by hunger. This new world was silent. Gray skies, rotting buildings, wind howling through empty streets. The only sounds were the hungry groans of the dead wandering aimlessly. But deep beneath the ruins of a forgotten wildlife reserve was something the walkers had not touched. A heartbeat, slow, heavy, ancient, and growing louder. Miles away, 3 survivors trudged through a shattered road overtaken by vines. The air was thick with the smell of decay. Broken cars lined the highway like rusted skeletons. Rick Mason, a broad-shouldered man with a scruffy beard and a makeshift spear, crouched carefully behind an overturned bus. His sharp eyes scanned the horizon. Behind him, Juno, a short, fearless teenage girl with a slingshot, whispered, "Rick, you hear that?" Beside her, Marla, a former veterinarian turned survivor, tightened her grip on her blood-stained machete. "Hear what?" Rick murmured. Juno pointed toward the woods. A faint tremor. Not walkers. Not humans. Something heavier. Thump, thump, thump. Marla frowned. "Whatever that is, it's big." Rick motioned for silence. They held their breath, listening. The next tremor was stronger, then another. Then a low, resonant sound rolled across the forest floor. A deep, ancient rumble that didn't belong in this world anymore. A roar. Not human, not undead. Animal. And not just any animal. Marla's eyes widened. "No, that can't be. Lions don't survive in this region. Their habitats." The roar sounded again, louder, closer, so powerful that the broken windows of the abandoned bus vibrated. Rick tightened his grip on the spear. "Marla," he whispered, "you ever treated a lion before?" Marla swallowed. "Not a living one." They exchanged glances. In a world where corpses walked, a lion might have been the last thing they expected to find, but the tremors were approaching. At the edge of the forest, trees swayed unnaturally as something pushed through. Birds flew away in panicked swarms. Foliage shook as a massive shape emerged. Rick peered from behind the bus, and his breath caught. A lion, but not like the ones shown in old documentaries. This lion was enormous, easily twice the size of a normal male. His golden mane was matted with dried blood and dust. His muscles rippled beneath scars crisscrossing his body. One side of his face bore a deep slash that had healed badly, leaving one of his eyes pale white. But his other eye, a burning amber, glowed with fierce intelligence. The lion moved with heavy exhaustion, breathing hard. A fresh wound on his flank dripped blood. He looked half-starved, ribs faintly visible beneath his fur. Rick frowned. "And dangerous." Marla stepped forward slightly, studying the wounds. "He's hurt, badly. But how did he survive this long? Large predators were the first to die when the world collapsed." Rick didn't answer, because the lion suddenly stopped. His ears perked, his muscles tensed. Rick followed the lion's gaze and froze. Walkers, dozens of them stumbling out of the trees, groaning, dragging feet, arms reaching for anything alive. The lion snarled, a low guttural warning. Juno whispered harshly, "Rick, we need to run, now." But Rick didn't move, because something about the lion's stance, his eyes, his calm defiance, was unlike anything he'd ever seen. The lion wasn't afraid. He was ready to fight. The first walker lunged at him. The lion struck faster than Marla or Juno could blink. Crunch! His powerful jaws snapped around the walker's skull, crushing it instantly. He flung the corpse aside with casual strength. Another walker grabbed at his back. The lion spun, slashing with razor-sharp claws. 2 more came at him. He grabbed one by the torso, ripping it clean in half. He crushed the head of another under his paw with a wet, cracking sound. Within seconds, he had taken down 4 walkers. But more were coming. 15, 20, 30, Marla gasped. "He can't fight that many. He'll be overwhelmed." Rick swore under his breath. Juno grabbed his arm. "Rick, we can't just watch him die." The lion roared, shaking the forest. But he was weakening, his fresh wound leaking blood faster now. The walkers swarmed him from all sides. Still, he fought like a demon. But it wasn't enough. One walker clamped onto his hind leg. The lion roared in pain and kicked it off, but more clung to him. Arms, hands, teeth, reaching, grabbing. The lion stumbled. Marla darted forward. "We need to help him." Rick cursed again, but nodded. "Fine, on my count." Juno loaded her slingshot. Marla raised her machete. Rick tightened his grip. 1, 2, 3. They charged. Rick speared a walker through the jaw. Juno shot a steel bolt through another's eye. Marla sliced 2 heads clean off. "Get them off him!" Rick shouted. The lion slashed at a walker climbing onto his back, but he was too tired, too wounded. Rick stabbed another. Marla severed the arms of one, grabbing the lion's mane. Juno yelled, "Behind you!" Rick spun just in time to smash a walker's skull with his spear butt. The lion collapsed to one knee. Marla shouted desperately, "Stay with us! Stay with us!" Together, they formed a protective circle around him. Rick spear in hand, Marla slashing, Juno firing bolts with perfect accuracy. Minutes felt like lifetimes. Finally, silence. Broken bodies lay everywhere. Walker blood covered the dirt like black oil. Rick breathed heavily. Juno wiped sweat from her brow. Marla collapsed to her knees, trembling. But the lion, he swayed, then collapsed completely, sides heaving. His eye fluttered weakly. "He's alive," she whispered, but barely. Juno knelt beside her. "We can't leave him." Rick frowned. "He's a lion." Marla glared. "He saved us, and we saved him. That makes him family." Rick hesitated, then sighed. "All right, we patch him up. But if he wakes up hungry?" Marla shook her head. "He won't." "How do you know?" Marla placed her hand over his heart. "Because he didn't run. He fought to protect us." Juno gently touched his mane. "What do we call him?" Rick looked at the massive, wounded warrior lion lying before them. "Alone in a dead world, yet still fighting," he answered softly. "King." The lion breathed out slowly, as if accepting the name. The prison had always felt cold, but tonight it felt colder than ever. The concrete walls seemed to breathe with the whispers of the dead outside. The wind scraped against the fences, like skeletal fingers trying to claw their way in. But inside, in the dim glow of lantern light, all eyes were fixed on one place, the patch of ground where the lion lay sleeping. He looked almost peaceful, almost human in the way his chest rose and fell. But every person watching him knew what he truly was. A force, a storm wrapped in fur and muscle. A predator who could silence a herd of walkers with a single roar. Even now, asleep, he radiated danger and hope. Rick stood at the bars, studying the beast. Daryl leaned against the wall, crossbow slung over his shoulder, eyes never leaving the lion's scarred flank. Maggie had her arms folded, face soft but cautious. Glenn kept glancing between the lion and the windows as if expecting walkers to burst in at any moment. Herschel, calm as ever, scratched his beard. "You all act like you've never seen a miracle before," he said quietly. Rick shot him a look. "A miracle?" "Herschel, it's a lion. A lion who saved your boy," Herschel replied. "A lion who understands danger. A lion who has scars older than any walker." Rick didn't answer, because deep down, he knew the old man was right. The lion had done more than fight. He had protected, and in this world, protectors were rare, whether human or beast. The night howl. They left the lion to rest in one of the empty cells. Rick ordered 2 guards outside, Daryl and Glenn, while the others returned to the common room. But sleep didn't come easily. Not tonight. Every creak sounded like a walker. Every gust of wind sounded like a horde, and every instinct told them something was wrong. Hours later, close to midnight, the silence shattered. Roar! A giant thunderous roar exploded through the prison, shaking dust off the ceiling. The whole group shot awake. Rick grabbed his revolver. Daryl was already running. Walkers. Had to be. They sprinted through the cell block, weapons drawn, but what they found made them freeze. The lion stood awake, no longer resting, no longer calm, but fully alert with its mane bristling, shoulders lifted, muscles trembling. He wasn't roaring at something inside the prison. He was warning them about something outside. Rick ran up to the window slit and peered out into the night. Then his stomach dropped. The forest surrounding the prison wasn't silent anymore. It was moving, shifting, a sea of walkers, hundreds, shuffling toward the fences like a tidal wave of rot and hunger. An entire horde. Daryl cursed under his breath. Glenn's hands shook. Maggie whispered, "Oh God," but no one panicked, because they had faced hordes before. They knew the drill. Rick turned to his people. "Everyone to positions. We defend the fences. We hold until sunrise." He paused, eyes drifting to the lion. "And we let him decide what he wants to do." The lion didn't wait for permission. With a low growl vibrating through the concrete, he crouched, then launched himself toward the yard. The first battle. Rick swung the gate open. The lion charged into the night like a living meteor, fur glowing under the moon, paws pounding the earth hard enough to shake it. And then he collided with the horde. The first walker disappeared under his claws. The second lost its head to his jaws. The third was thrown into the air like a rag doll. The lion fought like nothing they had ever seen. Fast, silent, deadly. A force of nature tearing through decay and darkness. Rick and the others fired from the fences, trying to thin out the horde, but even as their bullets flew, all they could do was stare. Because the lion wasn't just fighting, he was leading the fight. Every roar sent the walkers stumbling. Every leap crushed a skull, and every movement was precise, controlled, almost strategic. "Damn," Daryl whispered. "He's smarter than half the people I've met." Maggie didn't deny it. Herschel didn't either. The breach. But a horde that size was impossible to stop forever. The outer fence began to bend, then groan, then snap. The metal screeched as walkers piled against it, pushing with mindless weight. The fence buckled inward. Glenn shouted, "Rick, it's coming down!" Rick's pulse spiked. If the horde broke through, the prison would fall. Everyone inside could die. The lion sensed the danger instantly. He turned away from the walkers he was shredding and sprinted toward the collapsing fence. His paws left deep trenches in the mud. His mane streamed behind him like wildfire. And then he leapt. The lion slammed his body into the fence, pushing back against thousands of pounds of undead flesh. His claws dug into the ground. His muscles bulged. His bones trembled under the strain. But he held the entire horde back alone. His roar ripped through the night like a war drum. Rick yelled, "We have to help him." Daryl was already climbing down the tower. Glenn ran with him. Maggie followed. Even Carl grabbed his pistol. They reached the fence and pushed with everything they had. Together, man and beast, they stopped the breach. But the walkers kept coming, kept pushing, kept trying to swallow the prison whole. The lion's strength faltered. His legs shook. Blood dripped from his side where a walker had bitten him. Not deep, but enough to weaken him. Rick saw it and his heart broke. This creature wasn't theirs. He didn't owe them anything. Yet here he was, bleeding for them, protecting them, saving them, just like he had saved Carl. The horn in the distance. As the horde pressed harder, Rick feared this was it, their last stand. But then, another sound rose in the distance. A horn, long, echoing. Daryl looked up. "Is that a truck?" Engines roared. Headlights cut through the trees. A convoy of vehicles burst into view. Armored trucks, motorcycles, and a school bus converted into a battle wagon. Rick's face hardened. He knew only one man who drove like that. The governor, and he wasn't alone. The lion turned his head and growled, a deep warning rumble. 3 new enemies. The walkers. The governor's army. And time. This night was far from over. The governor's convoy tore through the forest like a storm. Engines roared. Lights slashed across the prison yard. Walkers scattered. And the lion, bleeding, exhausted, but unbroken, stood between 2 enemies. Rick and the group formed a line behind him. The governor stepped out of his armored truck with a cruel smile. "So this is the famous lion." He raised his rifle. "Let's tame him." The lion bared his teeth. The battle ignites. Gunfire exploded. Walkers surged, and the battlefield turned into chaos. The governor's soldiers fired at the fences. Walkers poured toward the noise. The prison became a whirlpool of destruction. Rick shouted orders. Daryl fired bolt after bolt. Maggie and Glenn protected the gates. But the lion charged straight at the governor's forces. He hit the first soldier like a freight truck. Claws ripped through armor. Teeth snapped guns in half. The governor watched in shock as his men fell like wheat to a hurricane. "Kill that beast!" he screamed. 5 soldiers surrounded the lion. They stabbed. They fired. They tried to trap him. But the lion roared and launched upward, dragging 2 men down at once. Walkers began swarming the governor's troops too. Gunshots attracted them like flies to blood. Now everyone was fighting for their lives. The final stand. The governor climbed into his truck furious. He aimed a grenade launcher directly at the lion. Rick saw it. "No!" The governor fired, but the lion reacted first. He sprinted, leapt onto the hood of the truck, and slammed both paws into the windshield. The governor screamed as the glass shattered. The truck swerved violently. It crashed into a group of walkers. The lion roared one last time, a victory roar shaking the entire yard. The governor crawled out of the wreck, bleeding, terrified. He raised his pistol with trembling hands. "You're just an animal." The lion stepped forward, slow, majestic, unstoppable. Rick arrived behind him, revolver raised. The governor froze. Rick fired first. The shot echoed through the night. The governor fell. The war was over. A hero's end. But victory came with pain. The lion staggered. His breathing grew shallow. The wounds he'd taken, bite, bullets, blades, were too much. Carl ran to him, eyes filling. Rick knelt beside the great beast. Daryl whispered, "Hell of a fighter." The lion looked at them, not as prey, not as threats, but as a pride. Family. With one last breath, he nudged Carl's hand, then lowered his head to the ground. Silence fell across the prison. Rick placed a hand gently on the lion's mane. "You saved us all." In the morning light, they buried him on the hill overlooking the prison. A king's grave for a king's heart. Legacy of the lion. Days later, as Rick stood on the watchtower, Carl joined him. "Dad, do you think there'll ever be another lion like him?" Rick rested a hand on his son's shoulder. "In this world, no." He smiled softly. "But in here?" He tapped Carl's chest. "He'll always be with us." Carl nodded, wiping his eyes. Below them, the wind rustled across the hill. Grass swayed over the lion's resting place. And somewhere far off in the woods, a distant echo of a roar faded into the sunrise. A symbol, a memory, a legend. The lion of the walking dead lived on.